next up in our Off the Carousel series, none other than Eric Musselman, who's now gone from Fayetteville to LA. And in full disclosure here, I'm in my daughter's new apartment here in Bloomington, Indiana. We're moving her from one to the other. There's nothing in here. The only thing I'm doing right now is doing a load of laundry because I'm coming straight from Aruba. And we're living out of a suitcase for the next 6 weeks. So the first thing to my daughter was like, I got to get in your new apartment, even though you're in the old one, and I got to do a load of laundry. So how's life out there on the West Coast?
It is. We're settled. You know, we went through that same type situation, obviously, Jeff, when we first got here. It was myself and a bunch of staff members with none of our wives, none of our families. We ended up going into a house right off of Manhattan Beach that we called the Portal House. And there was like 6 guys in there. We were sharing laundry, detergent and laundry machines together. We were hanging clothes outside instead of using the dryer because it was overloaded. But we're all settled now. We're in Manhattan Beach. We're loving it. My daughter's getting ready to start her freshman year. And my wife, Danielle, has, prior to us coming out here, Jeff, had a lot of friends and families out here, friends are out here. So we've adjusted really seamlessly for sure.
All right. So for me, the biggest adjustment going from Arkansas to LA for me, and maybe for you too, is the time change. Am I wrong? Like, what bigger adjustment is there? I mean, obviously Fayetteville to LA is a big adjustment, but you've been there. You've done the San Diego thing. You've done the West Coast thing. Isn't that kind of the biggest adjustment, is the time change again?
The time change for sure, but it actually, if you're a sports fan, it works to your advantage because games are coming on way earlier. On weekends, you get to see games that's starting at 10 in the morning, and then they're kind of over by 7 or 8 at night unless it's a local game. So I'm actually really looking forward to college football, the NFL season, when we're going to be able to watch games. You wake up, you get a workout in, bam, there's a game on at 10 in the morning. So we're looking forward to that. But the time change, Jeff, when you start talking about the Big Ten, now that's going to be a whole different animal with how we travel, how we kind of navigate that whole situation.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think still. Like, has it hit you? And I know it did, obviously, when you made the move to USC, but, Big Ten, like all this realignment now, honestly, you could quiz me right now, and I'm not sure I get everything right. Where's Stanford, right? Where are all these schools? Like, it just still sounds weird. USC and UCLA in the Big Ten.
Well, I can tell you this for sure. When I was in 3rd and 4th grade, my dad was coaching at the University of Minnesota. There's no way that I would have ever thought that I would be coaching at USC and be coaching in the Big Ten. That's for sure. And the funny thing is, Jeff, like you just mentioned, rosters and stuff, I can probably name Michigan's starting lineup better when my dad was coaching at the U of M, and he was going against, guys like Hubbard and Campy Russell and Ricky Green. I can go through that whole group of guys from when my dad was at the U of M. And now with the changing landscapes and rosters, it makes it much more difficult. But that's what we're doing right now. We have a 2-week break, and we're trying to do all we can to try to become as familiar as we can with schemes, both offensively, defensively, late game situations, tendencies that individual players might have, and then tendencies of the coaches we're going against. When you're in the SEC for 5 years, you get to pretty much know what's coming against some of the coaches that you're going against. And now it's a much different environment to come into as one of the new coaches.
All right. So I'm not letting you off the hook here. Like, I want you to answer the elephant in the room is you had it going at Arkansas. I mean, I said it to everybody when you were hired. Like, you were the perfect hire there. You got him to the second weekend after it had been 25 years since Arkansas did that. You made that program relevant. Now, did you have an off year last year? Absolutely. Didn't go as planned. The transfer, deal that had worked for you for so long, I don't want to say blew up in your face, but it didn't work as well a year ago. But why? Like, I keep going back to Arkansas fans on this. Like, it flipped so quickly of like them thinking you wanted out in the worst way. And then a lot of the fan base kind of flipped on you when they thought, hey, if he doesn't want to be here, we don't want him.
Yeah, I knew, my family knew that we had a great basketball job at Arkansas. Like, that's undeniable. It's, you look at all the coaches that have been at Arkansas, and you look at all the players and all the success. And the success is going to keep coming at Arkansas because it is a great basketball job. The Razorbacks are the only thing in the state. If you could see the number of Arkansas people that have traveled here and stayed in our house or stayed at the Shade Hotel up the road, it's every freaking day we have a different, friend or family friend coming from Arkansas. So sometimes I think the social media stuff that you see, a lot of times it's a smaller pool than what's really happening. And the people that we really met in Arkansas that are true friends, they're still going to be true friends. Matter of fact, they're coming out here. Hey, can we go to USC's bookstore? They're buying stuff. They're Trojan fans too now, a lot of our friends that are living in Arkansas. But it's a great basketball job there. But for us, this is the spot that we wanted to be. This is the spot that we feel fortunate that Jen Cohen hired us to come here. So great opportunity for a lot of things, basketball wise, the brand of USC, all those things. And then the more I talked to Jen, the more it became apparent that, kind of her vision for where she wants this thing to go aligned. And then really, Jeff, what I tried to do is tried to study the coaches that Jen Cohen had hired. And it's pretty remarkable when you look at the football hire. And so we feel like this is a great spot. We feel like we left a great spot, and sometimes that happens. And I think, you brought up, 4 great years. And then last year, the team had enough talent to beat anybody, at Arkansas. That's why we could beat Duke. That's why we beat Purdue in an exhibition game in front of 20,000 people. And that's why we were able to lead Alabama the last game of the regular season at Alabama. We led for 39 point, everything but the last couple seconds, and that game goes to overtime. And we played so well at Kentucky late in the year and scored, 106 points or something, but lost that game. But I think in today's landscape, because everybody's so portal heavy now, you're going to see teams and programs and coaches that have off years much more so than you saw. And it's going to happen in every sport. And I think, maybe a year ago to 2 years ago was the beginning of that. But it's just, you're going to see that trend happen with a lot of programs that you wouldn't expect it to happen.
Is it fair to say, going back, and I'm done after this, but that it was more of a life decision, a family lifestyle decision at your age? And Danielle, obviously, having been out in LA for a long period of time before, is that fair to say, or am I putting words in your mouth there?
No, I think I think anytime a coach makes a decision, your family's got to be a huge, huge part of it. But, quite frankly, my 2 sons, it was easy that the minute the job came open, they started packing, and I hadn't even interviewed. So for my 2 sons, that was super easy. My wife, she has so many friends in LA and worked for NFL Network in LA. So she had a base of people, but it's been a challenge for my daughter because, at her age, Arkansas, that's kind of what she had become. That was, her base of growing up happened in Fayetteville. So, but also 5 years. I like new challenges. A lot of coaches are content to be in one place.
You have moved around a lot.
And you know what? It's been our choice. That's what's super cool. Now, it wasn't my choice when the Warriors fired me in Golden State, and it wasn't my choice when Sacramento fired me. But those are really the only 2 times. All the other coaching moves have been, our family type decision. And so I love a new challenge. I'm not nervous about new challenges. And sometimes you can get stuck in a comfort zone. And but leaving the SEC is hard. Commissioner Sankey's an incredible commissioner. But there's some things in the SEC that are challenging, and sometimes you're fortunate to get out of that thing as well from a recruiting standpoint. I can tell you that.
So, what was your take when you heard Arkansas hire Calipari after? Because most of us were pretty shocked because it came quickly, right? I mean, they went after Beard, missed on Beard, maybe another guy or two, and then all of a sudden they're hiring Cal. Were you as shocked as the rest of us?
Not really. I mean, one, I'm proud and our family's proud that that Arkansas was able to hire Cal, because I mean, he's arguably, the best or one of the greatest coaches that college basketball's ever seen, and he is following kind of what we had done the last 5 years or whatever. So I think I look at it as a compliment, Jeff, more so than anything. And Cal's going to do incredible things just like he does everywhere he goes. I mean, everywhere he goes, he wins. And so I wasn't shocked. I mean, I think that, just from an outsider, never talking to him about it, but I'm assuming that maybe his time at Kentucky, it was time for him to look elsewhere, whether it would have been Arkansas or anywhere. I'm not so sure that, he could have been somewhere else as well. If the opportunity would have met, some of the things that he's looking for and some of the things that an athletic director or a program was looking for.
All right. So this is the ultimate flip for you. You've done this before, but I don't know if you've ever done it like this year. Now, the good thing is you're not the only one, right? I mean, you look at Kentucky and Louisville and Arkansas and a bunch of other programs. You're not alone anymore like you were years ago. I think you were the outlier. You and maybe Fred Hoiberg when he was back at Iowa State. But now you look at it and you're like, listen, you got all new dudes. You're in a new spot. And it's funny because you went early in the portal for the most part. Like, you got a lot done right away. And you did it in a way that I was surprised at, because they weren't the highest level, high ceiling, most talented dudes. You really kind of went against some of the things that have worked for you over the last few years, and even back with the Martin twins at Nevada. Why?
You're talking about in particular last year or this year?
This
roster
year,
building?
Yeah, this year, like a couple Ivy League dudes. I mean, like, you got some talented players. I'm not saying you're not a talented team, but you might not have that one or two like NBA guys that everybody's talking about that have these high ceilings.
Yeah, no, I think there's a lot of truth to what you're mentioning, Jeff. I think a couple things. One, when we got the job here at USC, our recruiting pool shrunk drastically, both geographically but academically. And then what USC admittance, like how you get into the school, it's very difficult if you're going into your junior or going into your senior year without being a graduate student to get in, to USC, because of the value of the degree. And they want to keep that value of the degree at this institution. So our pool all of a sudden became players that were transferring after their freshman or sophomore year, or grad transfers. And if you look at the landscape of what our roster is, that's really what it became. It became grad transfers, and then it became first or second year players. And so having said that, we feel like we're a really deep team, but there's not a whole lot of separation, maybe between 6 and 13. And in the past, you're right, Jeff, we've clearly had roles that could be defined even before a practice happened. I mean, we knew at Nevada, Caleb and Cody Martin, Jordan Caroline, we knew those guys were our stars, and we built the team around those 3 stars. And obviously a couple years ago at Arkansas with Anthony Black, Nick Smith, Jordan Walsh, we knew that we had to build around those guys. And then we bring in an NBA caliber player like Ricky Council. So, for us, we're going to have to win off chemistry. We're going to have to win off having a really good locker room. I did study the USC women's team, and Coach Lindsey Gottlieb did a great job with some Ivy League players that fit in around players like Juju Watkins. Now, we don't have a Juju Watkins on our team to fit around, so we're going to have to figure this out. But we do feel like we have some guys that can have big years. We do feel like we can have players that can develop into star players. Desmond Claude is a player that super intriguing. We're going to try to play him exclusively at the point guard position. Guys like Agbu have had really, really good year at Boise State in a very underrated conference. And you just never know. St. Thomas is a guy from a smaller conference, same place that, Tennessee had great success with a guy that came from the same spot. And you just never know who's going to emerge. I know a couple years ago at Arkansas, it was JD Note, who came from Jacksonville and turned himself into a third-team All-American. So for us, somebody's got to jump up. Somebody's got to have great growth in their game, and we hope that happens.
If you haven't heard by now, we have partnered with BetMGM Sportsbook. We are going to be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers of the Field of 68 throughout the year. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, you can use bonus code FIELD, and you will get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. The best part, all you need to do is deposit and bet $10 of your own hard-earned money to be eligible. Here's how you make it work. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using that bonus code FIELD. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you will receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure that you use that bonus code FIELD when you sign up. BetMGM is going to have some fun offers available throughout the NBA playoffs. Bet insurance tokens, odds boost, and what I love, a nice parlay boost or two from time to time, as well as a ridiculous array of player prop bets for any sport that you could possibly imagine betting on. BetMGM is and always will be the king of the prop bet. So go download the BetMGM app, use the bonus code FIELD, and sign up today. And while I've got you, a quick request. The best way to support the Field of 68 content that you get for free is to engage with us. Rate and review the podcast. Like and share the YouTube videos. Tell your friends about us. It all helps in a world where the algorithm is king. And now, back to the show.
All right, I love your Twitter account because you never know who you're going to take a picture with every day. Like, I feel like no matter where you are, I don't do it as well. Like, I can't go up to dudes a lot of times and be like, hey, can I get a picture with you? You have no issue doing it, right? You will do it with everybody and anybody that you see. Give me your favorite person. Like, if there's one person you've taken a picture with that you would like to, put the frame up there or put it on your tombstone at the end of your life here, who would it be?
Wow, that's a tough one, Jeff. I think one, like all the baseball stuff, is because like yesterday I went to the Dodger game because I wanted to meet the Pirates manager, and that was super important to me. I don't go just to get a picture with the managers. I go and try to spend time. I mean, I left for that game at 3:00 from my home for a 7:15 opening pitch, just to try to talk shop with managers. So, one guy that I was blown away with the amount of time that he gave me and the stories he told was Dusty Baker.
Really?
When he was managing the Astros, and a lot of it had to do with Dusty Baker was a Sacramento Kings season ticket holder because he's from Sacramento. He grew up there, and really cool story. That's the way that he and his father bonded. During the off season for baseball, they would go to Kings basketball games together, he and his father, and they would talk on when the Kings were on the road, they would talk about basketball, but his baseball stories and the stories about racism, and he's a guy that's like super, super intriguing and has seen so many different things in his lifespan as a player and as a manager, and won both player and as a manager, and then has the willingness to give another coach in a different sport the time. That's always the most intriguing thing, are the coaches that really give you time and share things. So that I would say Dusty Baker would be the one guy.
Well, of all the, and I've covered a bunch of sports at a ton of different levels, my favorite coach manager that I've ever had the opportunity to cover is Terry Francona.
Wow. Tito.
I mean, just like and again, think about it, you're dealing with the Red Sox and the Boston media, and that dude could not have handled himself and just treated people the right way. And I tell him, and he goes to, he lives in Tucson. He goes to Arizona hoop games all the time. He's at the Arizona Duke game last year. So if you get a chance, I don't know if you know him well, if you've had a chance, but he's got plenty of time on his hands now, so you can get to him.
I'll tell you what, Jeff, I actually met with Tito and his staff the year that we had the 3-1 and done freshmen. That same year, the Guardians were super young. And I actually was with those guys twice, once when they were struggling, and then once when they kind of started to get it rolling. And he brought me back with all of his other coaches and said he had to go do media, but he said, hey, you guys talk about today's younger athlete, throw some ideas around about either incoming freshmen or some of the guys that were just getting called up from AAA or AA. I mean, like that guy, even towards the end of his managerial career, was super in tune with wanting to share ideas and pick people's brains.
He's awesome. He's awesome. How people talk about your work ethic and how maniacal you can be with that work ethic. Have you had to change over the years at all? Because obviously the big thing is, kids have changed. The people around the kids have changed. Now you got the portal. Now you got NIL, all of that. Have you changed? And if so, how?
Well, I think a couple of things. I think all of us, like if you're going to be successful, you have to change. You've got to try to get better schematically, X and O's. You've got to add to your defensive repertoire. You got to add offensive things. You've got to add how you coach players. The one thing is when you coach at the NBA, the way that you talk to a player is a certain way. And it's when I got into the college game and started studying it, because what I did first was 3 years of TV. I did California Comcast and would do some of the Bay Area TV games, and you start watching, studying. I hope that we've carried a lot of our NBA, the way that we talk to players, have carried a lot of the NBA stuff, because you've got to tell the why now. You've got to watch delivery of stuff. You've got to try to watch body language of your players. I don't think you can get players to win at an elite level unless they are totally bought in. And so the character that when you do your roster management, character becomes important, and then fit, like what players fit with that coach, and then what parents, or as you mentioned, what inner circle, that player's inner circle, how does that fit with you? But I can tell you, like Anthony Black's mother, Jennifer, like she wanted Anthony to be coached. She wanted him to improve. Nick Smith's dad, it was so interesting. Nick Sr. and I had a conversation the other day, coming off the summer league. He said, Coach, I know you came and watched Nick play. Give me some things that you think he can improve on. And those are the type things you want, families that are kind of that bought in. Sometimes it can be hard to find, but certainly I think we're all, whatever sport you're coaching in, if you're not adjusting, then you're probably not going to survive.
Have you thought about expectations for year one at USC at all? Like, I mean, I know it's hard to, because again, you don't know what you have. You don't know what anybody else in the league has. Is it just like make the NCAA tournament and then see what happens? Is that kind of the overall hope and goal?
It would be. I do know that, like at Nevada in year one, we won, 24 games or something. They had won like 8 the year before, but we didn't make the NCAA tournament. But I looked at that as a successful year.
Sure.
At Arkansas, we didn't make the tournament, but nobody else did either because of COVID. But we had won the last game in the SEC tournament. We thought we were on a roll. At Nevada, obviously that year one, we won the CBI championship. So we finished on a really strong note. I hope this team gets better. I hope that during the course of the year, everyone starts figuring out and understanding what our culture is. But I don't think there's any doubt with anybody that's in a Power 5 conference, your goal should be, and should be to make the tournament whatever year you're in. And but I don't know the Big Ten. I don't know what is going to work. I don't know what won't work. I do know what works in the SEC, and I do know what type of athlete you need in the SEC, and I do know certain coaches that that how you can beat them, and certain other coaches that it becomes more of a challenge to try to beat. And then it's a chemistry. I look at South Carolina last year. They won a lot of games based on chemistry and the character of their locker room. And so, we're hoping that we have high character and a high locker room and a group that can stay together and get better as the season progresses.
All right. Before you go, you got to pick up the iPad for two reasons. One, we got to see the shirt you're wearing. Two, which, I mean, nobody gives that shirt more props than you do. I mean, I see you wearing it like every week.
I wear it on the Strand all the time. I'm trying to spread the word, man.
We love it. We love it. We appreciate it. Number two is we got to see the view from out of your house. And I know you and I talked about that a little bit. And we were going to do the pod from the beach. We were going to do the pod from the beach, but I didn't want you to make me feel too bad sitting in Bloomington, Indiana here.
I don't know if you can see the water down there. We got a basketball court down there.
Nice.
And then we got the water right there. So as soon as we're done, I'm headed straight down there. I'm going to get right on that Strand and then maybe try to get a little volleyball in with Mariah, my daughter.
Well, listen, when I don't know if you guys play Big Ten, I don't think the schedule's come out yet, but if you come to Bloomington this year, you can do laundry at my daughter's apartment here. It's a good little, what I know is right now, the washing machine and the dryer work. That's all I know. That's all I care about.
Well, you know what? As long as we could be on our Big Ten trips, we might need that laundry.
It's very true. You're very true about that. They are going to be long, no doubt about it. Listen, Mus, I appreciate it, man. Enjoy the rest of the summer, and hopefully, Mariah, everything goes well with school. And tell Danielle I said hello, please.
I will. Thanks so much, Jeff.